to Planetary Gig Talk, Tales of Music and Magic. I'm your host, Jefferson Glassy, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society, whose mission is creating unity through music. And today, here in the worldwide headquarters of the Planetary Gig Society in Studio One, I'm very, very pleased and happy that a great friend of mine, a fabulous guitar player, musician, is here with us, Jamie Logie. Hey, Jamie, thanks very much for stopping by.
Jeff, thanks for having me.
We've been talking about doing this for a while, and, I guess we've known each other, going on 15 years maybe, kind of met in a sort of as a result of a snowstorm. You got stuck in our little township area, and since then we've been spent a lot of time together, a lot of different places, playing a lot of music, so it's been great fun being with you. And one thing I want to mention first, and then we can get back to it, I think, is one of the things that you said to me a long time ago, which really struck me, was said, man, I really just want to play music with my friends. And it sounded very simple, but it really, as I said, struck a chord, and it's a great perspective on life. So I'd like to talk a little bit about that. But first thing, how did you get to be a guitar player? What do you remember about music in your life early on? Did your parents play music? Did you take lessons? Did all your siblings play music? Or how did that come about?
My dad played a little bit. He liked to play an electric organ that he had around the house.
Electric organ,
and
nice.
he improvised. He had no musical training, and he was a very good singer. Had a fine voice, loved to sing, liked to sit and just improvise on his organ, and loved music. He listened to big band music, so we had big bands playing loud in the house pretty much all the time.
Big band music is great.
Dad loved that kind of music, and he liked it loud. So that's what I grew up with. And then, of course, in the late 60s and into the 70s, hearing what was on the radio in those days always had my attention. And I had an older brother and older sister who influenced my taste at the time, of course. And I started playing guitar because there was a guitar in the house that Dad had bought for my sister to learn, and she just never stuck with it. So the guitar just sat there, and I picked it up and taught myself.
Wow. How old were you when you picked it up?
14, I want to say.
14.
Yeah.
So prior to that, you'd been listening to radio and sort of the typical stuff, not really playing too much, didn't have lessons in school or anything?
No, I played drums a little bit when I first started high school at age 15, 16, I guess, and really wanted to be a drummer. Loved rock and roll drums, man. I wanted to play the drums. But I did play drums a little bit in high school, and enough to learn the basics of how to do it properly. And stuck with the guitar. It was one of the pieces of advice my dad gave me that I did listen to. There were
many you didn't.
Many things he was right about that I should have listened to what he said. But I did take this piece of advice when he said, don't play the drums. You can't take that with you when you go on a trip or go to see friends.
Practical.
Play the guitar. You can take it with you and do it with your friends. And Dad was right.
Wow.
That was good advice.
So what kind of music were you sort of listening to on the radio? And then when you picked up the guitar, what were you playing then? What were the first type songs that you played?
That was some late 70s rock and roll, just trying to pick up things that I was hearing on the radio. And just getting a rudimentary start with the instrument. And then it wasn't long before some of the guys in my high school were taking jazz lessons and doing jazz band in school and interested in jazz. And as soon as they sent me in that direction, as soon as I got that exposure, that's what I was interested in. And there was an explosion of jazz at that time.
What year was that?
So this was the late 70s,
Okay.
78 or so. I'd been playing for a couple years by then, and got really interested in what was happening at that time with what was called jazz rock fusion. Which essentially meant electric guitar players were trying to do something other than rock. And a lot of that music was really interesting and good, and a lot of it was really noisy. But we didn't mind back then. We liked it.
What was a group or two that you kind of
back in the day,
typified that, like Average White Band or something?
Well, that's a different thing. That's music that I evolved to over time. Take Average White Band or Earth, Wind and Fire. People who were making music with a strong rhythmic groove and understood groove as a thing that could move people. That's music that I came to later and appreciate all the more now.
So you didn't really take lessons ever. I mean, you taught yourself. I mean, you sat down and learned to do a C and a D and a G, and then kind of went from there.
Started out teaching myself, and then there was a friend that I'd known since I was a child. Our families were friends, who was a terrific guitar player and was a noted guy in our community for his rock guitar playing, and I went to him for my first lessons. He taught me really. I had learned to play the basics, but I didn't understand, how to apply that, and he taught me the basics of understanding how to apply what I was learning, and from there. Did a little bit of band class in high school, playing drums. Was not a big success for me. And then later on, I went to community college and did music theory in community college. Once I had got the jazz bug and was learning that kind of playing, I did have another guitar teacher. A total of 3 guitar teachers over the years. I started taking when I was 20 or so. I did a year or so of lessons with a jazz guitar player, just because I had started to teach myself the chord voicings and things, trying to mimic things that I heard in that kind of music, but I didn't understand how to apply those things. I didn't really understand the music, so I took lessons with a guitar player who helped me understand it better. And then did my own thing for a few years until I met my third teacher, who just took me a little bit further with that. And since then, I've been continuing to just try and learn on my own, just applying what I've learned over the years. And
So you did pretty early on decide, I really want to do this. And it takes a lot of work to learn guitar and to learn jazz and all that. And did it just make you feel good? Or, I mean, that seems kind of simplistic question to ask, but what really drove you?
That's a good question that leads to what you opened with. The day that we were sitting in this very room, I think, when I said to you, I just want to play music with my friends. And what leads to that is the work to learn some complex kinds of music and to learn to play what, beyond the basics, is a very complex instrument, which is what I love about the guitar. The variety of types of guitars, the variety of styles of playing. I have not become bored with it in 30 plus years. And the guitar, of course, is the most ubiquitous instrument. It's the most popular musical instrument, I think, in the entire world. And sometimes it feels a little cliche to be another guitar player, especially as there are so many guitar players who are so much better at it than I am.
Oh my God, there's so many. You're a great player, but I know there's a lot
there
of
are
amazing.
So many people who are so good at it, and it just feels a little silly sometimes. But then I stop and think about it. The variety of guitars that have been adapted into different styles all over the world, and so there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different types of guitars, hundreds, if not thousands, of different guitar sounds, and millions of styles that people have created of their own of playing the instrument. It's a fantastically beautiful thing, and it's portable.
Yeah,
Dad was right.
Dad was right. So you were playing with friends back then. You were taking lessons in your 20s, and you started really playing with a lot of people in combos or groups or bands, or a lot of jamming around, or
well,
at that time.
I've been kicked out of every band I ever joined. I don't know. I really enjoyed the experiences of playing in bands. But that is something that has never worked out for me for more than a year or so at a time. Had a few really good experiences doing it, and I love working with people on music. I do like to work at it. I really enjoy the work. As you know, I've been hosting an annual dance event that is dedicated to waltz music, and
it's a fabulous event.
And I love the variety of waltzes that I found from around the world and been able to bring to the band, and the willingness and enthusiasm of the volunteer musicians to learn new music and present that for dancers. That's a fantastic experience working with the musicians. I bring them something they've never heard before, and I love the process of starting with the sheet music and working with everybody to get to a sound that we hope people can dance to.
Yeah.
Try really hard.
Well, this last time around was you guys knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
So big. I mean, you had so many good players and all.
It's a privilege to play with these folks. They have joined my band that I put together for this event as volunteers, and I'm so thankful for that.
So it's kind of an annual band in a way.
Right. All those folks are busy with other musical things that they do. And they've made time to do this once a year and do a fantastic job of it. And I think they share the excitement I'm talking about with just finding something new to learn and finding a new piece of music and figuring out how to make it work with that specific ensemble, which is one of the great things that I love working with groups of people. Is it changes every group of people is how the music works will be different. It's not a successful strategy, I've learned, to come to a new group of musicians with a set in stone idea of how the music is going to develop and ultimately sound. That doesn't work well.
Because everybody needs to contribute what they can and their voice.
And it works differently every time. And I've learned to love that. You
haven't played in a lot of bands per se then in your life, but you're always playing. I mean, over the years, as much as you can.
As much as I can. I just want to play music with my friends. Yeah. Part of that, for me, what I wanted to start saying earlier is when you were talking about the work, took to learn the different styles of music. There are many people for whom music comes very naturally, and a talent that somebody naturally possesses does have to be developed, but there are many people for whom that initial start and that process comes very naturally, and it's not really a lot of work. And that is a beautiful thing to see, somebody who just possesses those abilities because of whatever the alignment of the stars was. And I appreciate that kind of talent. I do not possess that kind of talent. For me, it's a lot of work, and to learn to play well and to learn to play effectively with other people has been a lot of work over a long period of years. And that to me is what has led my thinking in a lot of ways about the basic idea of I just want to do this with my friends. Is it's a learning tool, it's a learning process. The ability to share it took for me a lot of work to develop, and I feel very strongly about the value of bringing other people into that process. That when people who have that amazing talent that I'm talking about invite me to join them, that's a great experience, and I'm very thankful for that. More of the playing I do with friends is people who we are learning this together. Occasionally I come into contact with people who are just they got it at their fingertips, and I just do my best to play along and follow and make a good contribution. But most of the time, I'm playing with people who, like me, are learning while we're doing it, and are working at learning it. And
well, there certainly does seem to be something really special about just sitting around with a group of people in front of the fire and trying out some songs and playing, and everybody being able to contribute. There's some sort of connections there, I guess. How would you describe what what your favorite playing music with the friends scene looks like?
Well, that's another big idea. The kind of connection that happens in that environment that you're talking about is something that is rapidly disappearing in today's world. There was a time before the technological world that we live in today when that's what people did for entertainment. They entertained each other, and it was normal and expected that we would entertain each other. And when people showed really spectacular talent for music, that was very strongly appreciated by their friends and neighbors and family, but they were not the only people invited and expected to play and perform. Everybody was expected to join in and play and perform. That was life. That was normal. And that is so lost in our world today that it's just one of the many ways I think that we miss opportunities to connect with each other and work together to create something. And it's that collective creativity, that working together to create something that could be music, and it could be a lot of other things. That's how I see music creating peace in the world. It creates an opportunity for people to create together. And once you see that you can create together in this sphere, making music, it's not difficult to realize that we can do this in other things also. We can take this experience of working together, that we learned how to do this together, and apply that to other things that are needed in our community. That's how I see it playing out in our adult lives. These are the kind of things that kids are supposed to learn in school, doing group activities, doing sports,
Yep.
Playing in the band at school, all those group things, working together are skills that, we should be learning as kids. And that works in a lot of cases, and then but in just as many cases it doesn't really. People leave school and go into their lives and lose those skills, or they get led away from them. And living in a competitive society changes us over time.
Yeah.
And I feel that music as a group creative activity, which is how I've always preferred to engage with music, that keeps us working on those skills and brings us back to the point of learning. Right, it's good to work together, and we can create something when we work together. That's part of why it's so important to me to play music with my friends.
Wow, well, that's really, I think, profound. It's a great way to look at, the way humans connect together. It's sort of a tool, in a way. It is certainly creating something, and I guess what we're trying to do with the Planetary Gig Society is just have that conversation going. There's amazing musicians everywhere. There's so many fantastic talents and so many things that are just way beyond what I could ever achieve or do. But I do think there can be a bigger purpose, and that's the whole point of this. And if we can have that intention, of believing that we can do things better together,
Mm-hmm.
and learn to do that, man, that's where it's at, I think.
I agree. Intentionally doing it together that's what's on my mind when I'm playing with other people, and that's separate. That concept is separate from what the music is. There's so many different kinds of music.
Oh, yeah.
And so many different ways that any given kind of music is played from one place to the next. There's always going to be a difference, along with similarities. It is a wonderful thing to have that shared language. Having a certain skill level of knowledge and speaking the language of how music works is a great thing to be able to share with people wherever I go, and I'm always thankful for that. It's a complex topic that I can engage in conversation with other people who participate in it anywhere I go.
Yeah.
There are musicians everywhere. There are people of extraordinary talent and ability who just play on their back porch, and that's where they play. And you get around enough, you'll find those people. They're out there.
Well, certainly just the friends that we mutually have, some amazing musicians. And, you know, it kind of blows me away every day now that I'm doing these podcasts. Almost everybody is just a friend of mine who have these amazing thoughts and insights about music, who've really allowed music to be a big part of their lives, and it's incredibly special. I really like that concept of, you know, creating music together allows you to learn how to create other good things together. Any thoughts, suggestions? I mean, we do that by just inviting somebody over to your house, but a lot of people are not necessarily musicians. I mean, are there any, you know, thoughts you have about, well, how can we kind of encourage this more, or get people to come out of their comfort zones, or pick up that guitar that was been in the closet for 10 years, that sort of thing? Because it really is, I think it's really important.
Well, I think about this mostly among adults, and I say mostly because I do enjoy music with kids. Always encourage kids to join in when there's a musical gathering happening. Mm-hmm. And I like teaching children. It's a beautiful experience to teach children music. And there's different ways that that's done. I have my way of doing it, and there are many schools of thought about how to teach children music. But as I was saying, it's the learning process for me at 54 years old, and many people my age I know are still in that learning process, and it's a thing that keeps us engaged with our learning ability, so that we're doing something creative that takes concentration and focus and determination and keeps us doing the learning process, so that we are not just stuck in our day jobs and doing the same thing every day. It's in some ways it can be seen as a tool for that purpose as we grow older, and I think it's legitimate and important to look for those tools as we grow older. It becomes essential for a lot of people to intentionally maintain that looking forward and vitality about day-to-day living. Music is a great way to be engaged with that side of yourself and keep yourself thinking about learning something new and producing something that you have to work to achieve.
It's not just money, or not just something like that. It's kind of ephemeral in a way, but it seems like it's even more important.
Well, it's a creative project, a creative product that is yours. You host house concerts that are beautiful events. That's a thing that brings people together around music, and is a product of yours that keeps you engaged with that creativity. And I do the dance once a year. Mm-hmm. That it's a product that keeps me working very hard to bring about that event up to a level of quality that will be, I hope, thoroughly enjoyable for the participants. It's a lot of work. But the joy of that work is the part of it is the result of how I feel that I'm engaged, that I am purposefully creating. And the question of readiness for the world stage or lack thereof just doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
It's the process and the fact that everybody involved loves doing it. We love playing for the dancers, and the dancers
Love dancing.
love dancing and appreciate the work we did. And
And they're part of that creative process too, because if they weren't dancing and you're playing dance music, it leaves a little to be desired.
yeah. Man, I love it when people dance. I just love it.
Wow.
And the specifics of concentrating on that as a dance music as a product, it requires a lot of very specific planning and thinking and working out the finer elements of the music to make it that product. And that keeps me busy. It keeps me creatively busy and mentally occupied, and that I'm thankful for that.
Yeah,
And
I've thought about it before in the sense, in a way, trying to learn a song can give your life meaning.
mm-hmm.
And so you can kind of have an added level of purpose in your life when you're doing something like this. And I think it applies, making art and photography and movies. I mean, there's a million things, but music is just so special. So thanks very much for sharing those thoughts. I think it's really been interesting, profound. I wish more people would I wish a lot of people will listen and more people will try to kind of bring music into their lives that way, more so that we don't lose it, and that, we got gigs all around the planet.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right, thanks very much. That's Jamie Logie, everybody. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jefferson.
You've been listening to Planetary Gig Talk, Tales of Music and Magic. I'm your host, Jefferson Glassy, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society. We talk with musicians and others about the power of music and how we can use music to help create a better world. Please check out our website, www.planetarygigs.org, for information about some of the organizations promoting music and musicians, resources about the power of music, books, movies, articles, including new research on music and the brain. We welcome your support. The Planetary Gig Society is a Section 501c3 charitable organization, and you can donate on the website. You also can receive a free email signature block demonstrating your support for Planetary Gig Society. Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Planetary Gigs. And we want to thank fabulous musician and teacher Eric Weinberg of Little Eric Studios for the Planetary Gig Talk music titled Chill Kid, It's Saul. So please check out Planetary Gig Talk on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Subscribe and hear all the upcoming episodes. Thanks very much.